Shut up and sit down.
All these Dale guys are super strong, beef mountains.
Gonna ride my bicycle, no matter where I go. I'm gonna take it fast, I'm gonna take it slow. I'm gonna go over there, over that log and tree. I'm gonna take it to see you, I'm gonna take it to see me.
What's kicking, little chicken? You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Tip of the day from a quote by Abraham Lincoln. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. It's never too soon for some good old-fashioned preparation.
Can't go far on a bike with no radio star. So I strap my Walkman straight to my handlebars, duct tape and roses, cameras and air guitars. People laugh, people holler. I don't care. This ain't fair. It's world there with the Mustang pantyhose. It's cold out there with their mustaches.
Woohoo, bikes.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von During. I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance freaking Hepler.
Frickin' Epler.
Right here
In studio.
with you.
That's magical.
Yeah.
It is nice to
I
have
mean,
you
it
home.
back. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it doesn't matter.
I was gonna say-
We'll get into backpedal.
get to it.
Save all
There'll
those
be
questions.
plenty of talking from that guy over there. To his left, Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look fan-frickin-tastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And last but not least, Mr. Evan Price joining us over the airwaves, thankfully. Evan, you there?
I'm drinking orange juice. What are you guys drinking today?
Price, I'm wearing a mask.
That's about-
even though that we're talking to you over the airwaves because I still don't trust
Just
the
so-
germs.
Just so I don't get you. So I
It's
really
not
did
worth
a
the
poor
risk.
job.
He's got some
I
like,
did-
prophylactics over his headphones, too.
I did a pretty poor job of shedding this virus to anybody else because not even Cassie has tested positive yet. So I can't even. I'm not even good at having COVID. This is,
You're not like a super spreader.
no, I'm even bad at spreading this thing. So what am I worth to it?
How are you feeling, though? I mean, are your symptoms pretty bad? Are you just feeling kind of crappy, or what's going on?
Nah, I'm fine. You know, I mean, it's like honestly today I'm probably expecting that I'll be close to testing negative. Last night I was feeling pretty good last night and hoping I would test negative, and it was one of those. I have no idea if the testing is like if the line is fainter, if that means you have less COVID, or if that just means you took a crappy test or not. But it was a very faint line last night, so fingers crossed we're getting a negative here in a couple hours after this.
Good. Cool. Hey, let's do some backpedaling. I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be a long one. It's been a
I
minute.
can make mine fast.
How about this?
I got nothing either.
Yeah.
Go, Matt.
I've actually run like a fair amount.
What?
I know. It's crazy. Not like, I don't know, fair amount.
Like,
I
this-
think last
so-
week I said I think I ran 10 miles. This week is probably like 12. It's been great.
Is it like it's improving?
Life is getting better.
Life is just getting better.
But I mean, it's just incrementally, and I'm trying to just ease back into it. And it's just good to see progress in that.
That is great.
Some sort of progress. I might not ever be running marathons again, but if I can go, like I did 4 miles on Sunday, last Sunday or whenever that was. I don't even know what day is it today. Thursday. Yeah, it's going well. Things are going well.
Wow. Okay. That
So
makes
there's
me
that.
happy.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Cool.
Swam a little bit also, and probably at least got out for one bike ride and a couple of Zwift rides. You know, nothing too crazy.
Nice.
Well done.
Yeah.
Evan.
You know, Matt, this will probably be the first week this year that you outrun me distance wise.
Yeah, might be
You get
ever, maybe ever.
Maybe
You get to claim that one. Well,
I
simultaneously.
I think you might even. I bet you you snuck out for some sort of run, and you're like, well, I'll just do a 12 miler. Whoops, there goes
I have
Matt's.
not. I have not snuck out for a 12 mile in the last
Zero.
few days.
You're a zero for
Yeah.
the week.
A big goose egg. Yes.
Yeah, so we'll let Evan go next, but real quick, leading into that, I had a really busy weekend last week, and I'm going to do my backpedal
Sure.
real quick. And it was one of those weeks last week where it was just terrible. I didn't get much of anything in. It was just RGT, and I didn't even ride last weekend, and just because I was so busy doing family stuff. And then at the end of the week, because I was kind of disconnected, actually, it wasn't even the end of the week. It was Monday morning. I'm like, oh, Evan, he raced this past weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, trying to look up,
Find
like,
your
why
results.
can't I find Evan in the results? And I go and look at his stuff, and I'm like, what? So backpedal over, Evan. Your turn. Go.
Yeah, I have just an awesome back pedal. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna love reliving these last 7 days. But so I last week, I'm not sure, I actually think this happened after the podcast. So my car got broken into Tuesday
Oh my gosh.
after about a 10-hour day at work. So, like if I could ever plan how not to taper, this is this back pedal. Like a perfectly bad taper, isn't it? So the car got broken into. Cassie was absolutely amazing to help me handle the situation because, I'm driving back home from Portland while it's pouring rain. I'm not sure if any of you remember last Tuesday, but it was like the torrential downpour day.
Yeah.
So I'm driving home with my window completely smashed in, and I had nothing to cover it with coming back from work. So I am just driving with cold pouring rain coming into the car. 45-minute drive home. I get home, obviously pretty angry about the whole situation, which I truly do believe that stress definitely drives sickness, and I don't think that being that stressed helped. And by later that night, I was already feeling sick, and then woke up Wednesday and did not feel good, but was holding on. So in my head, I thought I just am stressed, basically, is it. So go to work another long day, get to the end of Wednesday, and I have my pre-race bike workout and feel like absolute garbage, but was able to get through the intervals at least. And then Thursday we travel, just still in my head thinking you're going to feel better, just get a good night's rest under you at some point. And strangely enough, the swims were actually feeling good. I get to Palm Springs and start to feel okay. And it was, the whole trip as a whole was a lot of fun. I really love going to these races, honestly. It's great meeting a lot of the, pros and get to see these guys again. And, Josh and Ari Clow were there staying with us. So they were both ready to go. And I think the Thursday and Friday, I'm kind of faking it to myself that I feel good and that I should be able to race. But there was this impending sense of doom each time I was training that okay, you're hitting the numbers, but God, this does not feel good. It just doesn't feel good. I even hit my pre-race run actually went really well on Friday. So in my head, I'm kind of thinking oh, you're just mentally just still stressed from Tuesday. You just get over it and, be a professional and get ready for a race. So Saturday, feeling okay after another 9 hours sleeps. Cassie still says that, my voice wasn't sounding good and there was something in my lungs. And so we get to race day, and, we're me and Ari are doing our pre-race jog. And just even during the pre-race jog at 6 a.m. or whenever that is, I'm just not feeling good. I know that there's something's off, and I'm trying to fake it at this point. And if anybody's ever done Palm Springs before, that water is 57 degrees. So it was freezing this year. It was very, very cold. And usually I do well in cold water, but we hop in the water to warm up, and it's just this major, just constrictive feeling in my chest. I cannot get a deep breath. And in even at this point, I mean, we're 10 minutes away from the start. And in my completely psychotic head, I'm thinking don't worry, man, the gun's going to go off and you're going to feel great. Just all of a sudden, everything will feel fine. And we start that race. I actually got in not bad position for the first 200 meters. And then all of a sudden I really could not breathe. Very constrictive feelings, a lot of panic. Kind of went up to Wade for a second, tried to stick my head back in and go again, and then really, really could not breathe. And luckily there was a med boat right next to me, and they pulled up next to me and kind of, I could see them motioning towards me, and I look back and the women's field is starting at that point, and I'm already 100 meters back on the back of the pro men's field. And I get to be the guy on outside TV that gets mentioned as, oh, he's getting pulled out of the water. So by far the most embarrassing.
No one watches outside TV. I don't know anyone.
I know.
I've never heard of outside TV. Is that when you go outside and you bring a TV? No one knows.
No, it's for all the people who are outside. It's their TV, which means nobody's actually watching it. So.
Right. I feel sorry because I think they charge for that. They have a subscription model or something like that. That's
Probably.
all 7
That's rough.
people that had to witness me getting pulled out of the water, I want to apologize to personally.
Even your
So-
mom doesn't pay. She doesn't even pay for that to watch
No,
her son
no.
race. Okay.
No, my mom doesn't even know how to work outside TV. Not a single
does.
human being
No one
uses this. So I'm pretty sure that there were more people watching somebody's random Instagram live feed than there were
yeah.
actually on outside TV.
Easily,
But
yes.
yeah, so I got pulled out of the water. Strangely enough, the guy who pulled me out in the med boat is a old time Ironman pro. The guy was a pro in the
cool.
80s. So it was funny. He was
That's
telling me
really
a
cool.
story about how he made it 100 meters into Kona swim once and then pulled out. So, it was obviously I'm mad at myself in the moment, not feeling good, but this guy was hilarious. So it actually made it feel a little bit better. This guy was telling some pretty funny stories on our very slow boat ride back to the med tent start. So got out, was able to find Cassie, and then basically was just, I was like, all right, you can mope and pout about it, or you can go out on course and give Josh and Ari and everybody, that I know splits all day. So we went out on course and was giving everybody splits all day. I was still kind of confused as to what happened. I didn't want to take any guesses on what's going on or if it was just me losing my mental game or not, but we got back to Washington, and right away, I take a COVID test and it's positive. So then
that's kind of comforting to know for you, Evan. Then you just
Yeah.
got COVID, and that's what laid out your lungs, and it wasn't you just losing your cool. You know what I mean? Not just just not losing focus. It was you can actually blame it on something and not yourself. So that's good.
I know. I mean, in theory, I was thinking that was going to make me feel better, but now I'm getting all this information from talking with my coach and a bunch of other athletes I had a race, and they're like, "Oh God, man, you got to take it easy now. You might have you might have thrown yourself into long COVID because you tried to race with it and all that."
Yeah,
And,
that's what I've read is that you have to really take it easy if you have COVID. So
yeah,
good luck with that price.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I feel pretty good, in all honesty, and I really don't think I'm going to have too many issues with it long term. I think I had a pretty light bout. I mean, I think if I feel pretty lucky to be somebody who could have trained with COVID. I know a lot of guys that were having the rougher, for instance, I know I was hearing the story on Javier Gomez. Javier Gomez was laid up for 7 days. I was definitely not laid up. I feel like I've got a lighter dose of this thing, if anything. So
Well, I mean, even my experience was bad, where I was really sick for a week, and my lungs were affected for a couple months. But I was back on the bike in 10 days or something like that. And there's been other people like Starla Tendergreen. I don't know if you know her. She was a former pro that lived here in Vancouver, but she moved to Colorado. She was in the Lifetime Grand Prix, and she didn't get to do a single race because she got COVID in January or February, and it laid waste to her immune system.
Right.
And she didn't ride a bike for 8 months.
It took me a lot longer. So for me, I was I felt like I was okay after 5 days. And then it was another 5 or 7 days after that to where I felt like I could exercise again. Yeah. It was weird. I thought I was going to bounce back so fast, and I was like, ugh, I just can't exert yourself.
Just can't exert too much.
So,
but
go
this is
price.
But for Evan, for you, this was the end to the season. So it's kind of good timing for it.
It is
if
perfect
it could
timing.
be any
Oh
time,
yeah,
right.
I mean, if there was any timing for this, I mean, it would have been nice if this had happened
2 days
after
later.
the race, and obviously,
Yes.
and not obviously right during the race. But I mean, it's. I feel pretty lucky that it was at least a light enough dose that I'm not laid up and stuck in Palm Springs for a while, or not able to move off the couch or anything. So
Yeah, I had to rent a hotel in Grand Junction.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
I was
remember
stuck.
I
and I couldn't
remember
leave.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very lucky that it's not as bad as obviously it could have been. And, me being also a coach, I think of everybody I coach, God, I would probably say 95% of them have had COVID, and it's a pretty wide gamut. I mean, I know Josh had, I think I'm speaking correctly, Monda had COVID, and I mean, he came back just fine. And after a couple of days of feeling like poop, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I've zero plans, luckily with it being the end of the season, to do any like anything beyond zone 2 and very aerobic work for the next like even 2 weeks would be fine with me. So
Yeah, I think that's what it'll take.
no rush coming back, and we'll see how structured intervals feel after a nice easy week, probably next week.
So going back to the race real quick, I think when we last talked, we were talking about like the potential people that could potentially come back and win, and Evan was calling his shot that he was going to beat Sam Long. And I don't know, I'm telling you, I think he's just saving it up. He's going to go down there and he's going to wreck shop. What happened down there, Evan?
Man, Sam Long had one heck of a day. It was an interesting race to watch, because with this being an end of season race, you never know what type of fitness guys are coming in with, and who really wants to win the race. There's a lot of fast guys, but you don't know who's in, who's in what shape. So the big surprises of the day, I wouldn't call Sam winning a surprise, right, but he definitely showed that. I mean, he's still got great 73 fitness.
Yeah.
Which I think anybody who's been in his circle isn't surprising at all. He just hasn't been able to put it together this season over the full distance.
He needed a good race, didn't he?
He did. He really needed a good confidence builder going into next year. So he had a great race. Lionel's issue was, so Lionel was next to me in the swim and ended up actually pulling up at one point. So he panicked in the water and just wasn't able to get into a rhythm. It was very cold water. So it was, I don't think Lionel does well in freezing cold water, and he just, struggled with it. So he had a rough swim, but then hopped off and does his usual, huge bike ride. Yeah, bikes through the field and then throws down, I think he had the fastest run split on the day, or second fastest behind Bart Arnault. So, I mean, guys were just running crazy. So it was definitely a day for a really good run. You had Matt McElroy kind of struggled through, I think he was fifth, maybe. A guy who was maybe going to threaten for the podium just showed that he can't hang with the big bikes like Sam and Jackson Laundry and Bart Arnault. And a big result was actually a guy who I got to meet before the race and talk with a lot, is Justin Reel, who just had his first pro race, and he ended up sixth. He's a big time swim biker, and just showed that he can hang on the run. So going into next year, he's going to be a threat for a lot of top tens in big races. So
how about the women's race? Did you watch the women's race?
Oh yeah. Got to see Tamara Jewett almost run down Paula Findlay, which was a very interesting race.
Yeah.
It was Paula put in some ridiculous bike just to basically give herself the win, and then did have to end up holding on the run. I think that she was hoping that Tamara wasn't going to run as fast as she did, but Tamara Jewett had one of the fastest runs, period. She ran 1:14 low.
Wow.
So arguably at the race, kind of the word with the pros is Tamara Jewett, outside of Beth Potter, may be the best runner in female triathlon right now, period. So there's nobody who can hang with her over a half marathon, and she's running numbers that would run through part of the men's pro field too. So
right.
she's if she can figure out how to lessen the amount of time that she loses over the bike, she will definitely be somebody who can threaten for a world championship.
Cool. And she's young too, right?
Yeah. I don't think she's like maybe mid-20s, maybe late 20s at oldest. Yeah.
Just real quick, based on like conditions and the race itself and all of the fun things that went into that, knowing your fitness, how do you think you would have finished had you not obviously gotten sick?
First,
I would have won. I would have won the whole thing.
Yeah, because you were gonna. You called your shot. You said you're gonna crush Sam Long. So I mean,
yeah.
No. This is. I'm feeling like I'm gonna, especially after next year, be at the point in my career when it just comes down to like you either raced on the day or you didn't. And that's kind of the point I want to get to, is where the only results that matter to me are how I raced against the people on the day, and not as much like the times and the splits, because the fitness is getting to the point where I know on my very, very best day I can put down a really fast time, but it's what do you do on the day with the players and the moves that were made. So, gotcha. I think I would have swam. My swim has been doing great lately. I think I could have swam in the 27s, which would have still put me off of the mid-pack. I would have been a little bit off the mid-pack. And then I think, honestly, my bike was feeling great. And I know that a lot of the guys, just the way the race played out, because there weren't a lot of groups, there wasn't a lot of hard biking out there. So I do think I could have actually put a lot of time into guys, moved up the field, and really the position I probably would have ended up in was between 11th and 14th, just knowing the guys that were there and where everybody ended up. I don't think I had a top 10 day because Eduardo and Ari both ran ruckshot. They moved through the field really well. 113, 40 and change, and then Eduardo ran 113 high. So they both really were moving well, and I'm not a guy who can run in the 113s yet. So I would have probably come off, I think, a little bit ahead of both of them, and probably would have run 115 or 116 and gotten run down by Ari and Eduardo, probably either in that first lap or near the beginning of the second lap.
Would have been fun.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, though,
Well, get healthy and we'll do it next year, It's not a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of racing planned for next year. We might actually have 9 races. So
wow.
It'll be it'll be a big racing season.
Starting to look at the calendar, huh?
Yeah, as I was joking, but most of the year's already planned. But as I was joking with Ari after the races, Lionel has an old video where he gets all angry about a bad race result and jokes that he doesn't want to be a good trainer anymore. He wants to be a good racer. And I was telling him the same thing. I'm like, I'm tired of practicing well. I want to race well.
Gotcha. Man, I'm sorry you got sick, and I'm sorry that happened to you. But you know what? It's life.
That stinks.
It is.
It's probably not.
It is, man.
It's probably not going to be the last
fine.
time either, and you'll just have to learn how to, move on.
No, the biggest bummer for me wasn't even the race. Is actually I have a really stupid streak in my life that I have never missed an adult day of work in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And Wednesday was the first day of work I missed. It was so now the dumbest streak of my life. That would be a dumber streak than just biking for 500 straight days, honestly. Right. And that's so.
You
so
finally took a
that
day
streak
off
gets
on
put
Wednesday.
to bed.
Yeah. Oh, that stinks, man.
No, it's fine. People get sick.
Speaking of things that stink, Lance, you're a little right.
I do
Backpedal.
stink.
You're a little right, dude.
What do you want to hear about?
Oh, God.
Well, we have checked in with you
When
you were on location.
I did listen to the podcast that you guys recorded while I was gone, and I felt all the hate. It was good. It fueled my passion,
rage.
It fueled my rage for the next year.
Good.
It's good. Yeah, my trip was amazing. It really was. I mean, I just got back last night. It was 4 weeks I was gone, almost 4 full weeks, which is
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It was a lot.
You glad to be home?
I am very glad to be home.
Your dog miss you?
Our dog, like, ridiculously, she wouldn't leave my side all day. I had 1,000 errands and fires to put out this morning already. I'm still dealing with them. It turns out to be gone for a month. Not so good when you run your own businesses. Yeah. There's a lot of things that were happening anyway. So
here's what I'm curious about. This I was thinking about. I don't know, earlier today or yesterday or something. Did you have more fun off the boat, like when you were like tooling around and taking a van and going to random places, than when you were on the cruise with all the good food and the blah blah blah?
Dude,
massive drinking that you're doing.
I had Coke Zeros every day.
Oh, okay.
It was two very different experiences, that's for sure.
Okay.
The cruise, this was a Viking cruise. They're known for their luxury, and they're not like party boats, but they're known for their luxury. I do not fit in. I sent you guys a little video.
They're like grand piano playing.
There was like a string quartet playing and a grand piano. We were at afternoon tea.
Ooh.
Where
what is that?
It's an English thing. It's a European thing where you have tea and like cucumber sandwiches and like little and macaroons and little desserts. Yeah.
And you were like, this tea is fabulous, but can I have a sloppy Joe, please?
Could you send me a vegan
and a monster?
And a monster. I like a monster and a chili burger.
Pronto. So
I did.
Fit in well.
I don't really quite fit in with the crowd, but we go because it's a really great way to see countries and see different cities and not have to, not have to unpack every night. So it's different. Of course, you pay for the luxury and you're really being pampered. And, sometimes those types of things are fun if you can afford them to do. But to be honest with you, dirt bagging around in the van was way funner for me.
Yeah.
Where we had no plan, no schedule. It was just, let's just see what we can see.
Right.
And we ended up seeing way more things than we had planned to. So, it was 2 very different trips where we spent these 10 days in the van just tooling around, Germany and France and Austria, and saw all these amazing things and got to make our own plans and go our own way and, sleep in rest stops and find weird restaurants. And, that stuff was fantastic. Then 4 or 5 days in Amsterdam, which is an amazing city. It is a very cool city where everybody bikes. They're even they're starting to close down more and more streets downtown. They want to turn the whole downtown area car free.
Right.
And so there's all this great infrastructure.
Can you imagine the riots in the streets here? If people if municipalities
you could
close down streets.
You could do it in certain locations. Like you could do it in a couple. You could pick a couple streets in Portland. You could easily do it in downtown Camas.
Sure.
You just pick
make
those
it
things
car free,
and you say delivery only.
Yeah.
Like the vehicles that are delivering packages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Still think that there would be riots in
There
the streets.
would.
People would be like pitchforks and
even in the Netherlands, they're the taxi drivers aren't happy about
The bikers.
they all love the bikers, but the fact that they're trying to turn more of it car free.
Oh, right.
But I mean, spending those few days there was fantastic.
Did you ever get pulled over for not having a bike light? I've heard that's a thing.
That is a thing.
It's a thing.
No, I rode with a bike light.
Yeah.
front and rear.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's actually
I think it's just this time of year though.
there's bike cops.
Right.
Okay.
And they will pull you over and give you a ticket if you're riding at night without a rear red light and a front white light. Because the bikes have right of way, even over the cars.
Yeah.
If you're riding, there's the driving lane and then a dedicated protected bike lane and then the sidewalk. And you have to, every turn you made, you had to check both directions for cars and then both directions for bikes.
Did you have any close calls?
I did not
Okay.
because I was hyper vigilant of when I was driving around, I didn't have any close calls. Biking, no. I mean, we rode our bikes every day.
Was most everybody on a commuter bike, or was
Yes.
it just
Yeah.
Yeah.
No helmets.
No
it's just
helmets.
everyone's going 5 miles an hour.
Yes.
With a foot, almost a foot down, right?
8 miles an hour, city bikes,
Yeah.
baskets on the front, or, it's everybody's on a city bike.
Huh.
Nobody's clipped in.
Right.
It's just a different culture.
Did you see any, what do they call the long bikes with the...
There were hundreds. Cargo bikes.
Thank you.
There were hundreds of them.
Those are cool.
There were hundreds of them. Ones that had
Throw your kids in there.
4 people in them
Yeah.
because the guy had 2 kids there and then a kid behind him.
Yeah.
And
were they e-bikes or were they?
most of the big cargo bikes are e-bikes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I was
you wanna
getting
move to Amsterdam?
passed. Dude, it was a really cool city.
We could just go move this
Yeah.
podcast
We
over.
could just move it on over. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. I'm very happy to be back.
Yeah.
Because when you spend that much time somewhere else, you forget the way that you're living your own life. It's very different. But man, it was cool.
How would you contrast being over there cycling wise with here? I mean, obviously everybody's commuting over there. Did you kind of dig into the bike riding racing
I did.
scene?
So I rented a bike one day.
Yeah.
And I just went. I rode my commuter bike over to the
bike rental place.
to the bike rental place and said, "Hey, I want to rent a road bike because I want to do like a 100K ride." And it was like, "All right, super." And so he loaned me shoes. He loaned me a helmet.
Nice.
I rented a bike. And the roads there's dedicated bike paths out in the countryside that are
Really?
yes, it's
Wow.
butter pavement everywhere. I mean,
Wow.
there isn't a hill to be seen in that whole country.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
Not in the Netherlands. So, but there were serious people riding out there all the time.
Really?
I was salivating where the places you could ride around there.
If you look at the cycling community here as a percentage of the overall population, the number of cyclists or the percentage of cyclists here is a pretty small number.
Yes.
How would you compare that to over there? Because I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is like almost everybody has a bike and rides it somewhat
different.
regularly.
It's different than
in the
cyclists
city.
are
Yes.
different than
Really,
people that ride bikes, right?
Well, just riding a bike in general. It doesn't matter if it's a cyclist that's out there training and racing and
But
on
you see,
Strava.
you see the difference, right?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
for
this
sure.
is like these are people just going, like doing their daily whatever.
Yeah.
Going to the grocery store, whatever.
Okay,
It's just
so
like all bikes.
what would you say the percentage of cyclists are here in Portland, Vancouver?
Maybe 1%.
So maybe 1%. So I bet, in the Netherlands or around Amsterdam, the cyclists are probably about 5%.
Okay.
But people who
Who
ride
ride bikes,
bikes is
yeah.
like 98%.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic
interesting.
because it's a
Everybody
whole
does.
like mental shift in terms of how you treat that community.
Right.
You don't want to drive a car.
Yeah.
You get to the city, you just
Park
park the car and you just ride the bike. We actually went and rented like 2 city bikes for like 3 days so
Sure.
that we could just ride the city.
ride.
It was just way easier to get around.
It's got to be a
Wow.
much more enjoyable way to see the city. And if the city was a little bit tighter quarters,
Yes.
so it's not like living here where we're in suburbia, if you will.
Portland could do this.
For sure.
They could. Camas could never do this.
It's just too hilly and
It's too
spread
hilly
out.
and too spread out,
But-
and Camas is fat.
Yeah, I know that there's
That's
weather and all that
America.
stuff that we deal with here, but I know not a ton of people, but enough people to where it makes me go, that's a thing, that commute from the Camas, Vancouver area into Portland, and they can generally get there in about the same amount of times and sometimes even faster on a bike.
Yes.
And they get there and they've had some exercise. They're happy.
Yeah.
They're, they're not pissed off at the world because they've
Right.
been dealing with traffic.
I tell you what struck me the most was tooling around Belgium on that dumb little. So Belgium is the country right next to the Netherlands. I mean, as an American,
on
you
your
don't even
foldable
realize,
bike or whatever it
right,
was.
on the folding bike. As an American, you don't even realize that Belgium and the Netherlands are actually different countries. But they are actually different countries. They actually kind of don't like each other. But just taking that little weird folding bike down a random like cobblestone road, and I get to an intersection, and there were bike markers. I was in farmers' fields. I was in the middle of this weird city outside of Brussels. It was near where I went to the cyclocross race, and you get to this little like the T where the road ends, and there were like 4 bike markers, like it was part of like 5 different bike routes that I could have been doing, and they were everywhere. And the roads, it was like butter pavement. When they weren't cobblestone roads, like classic cobblestones, they like historical roads they didn't want to tear up. The pavement was just like butter everywhere.
I wonder why.
Wow.
I don't know, but that made me want to just like get on a bike and just ride everywhere. And then like on Strava, I can see Greg Avermaet rides all over here, and this is the area where Matthew Van Der Poel actually trains, and this is the area where I see that Wout van Aert is training, and they're all like rural areas of Belgium, more or less. So
Wow.
Pretty cool to see a Strava segment that has those guys on it.
yes, has those names on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'm going up this hill and I'm like, I'm really going for it on this dumb little foldable bike, and I get to the top and I'm like, you were the 38,000th person to go up this today, and that's because one of the classic road races went right up that hill.
Sure.
Yeah.
But didn't you say you checked Strava and not very many people were using it over there, and it was just you and some other guy from the States?
That
Or was that somewhere else?
That was when I did the Roubaix Velodrome, and I went the wrong direction.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, and then there was another. Yeah, there was somewhere that I had rode.
Yeah, I think you said that you went out there and you did a ride or something like that, and you uploaded, and of course it was just you and one other like guy from the United States.
That was in Amsterdam.
Okay.
In downtown Amsterdam, there's a park, like Central Park.
Sure.
But there's a park, and there were, I must have seen literally 10,000 people riding through this park, because it was just part of the route that you would take to go from the into downtown. And so I ride my bike and I Strava'd the whole thing. And then I checked Strava and nobody had uploaded a ride. Nobody.
Strava, you need to reach out to Amsterdam. You can make a killing there.
And that was the funny thing. It was only me and like one other American guy who had like, actually Strava'd the ride. And I just Strava'd it because I wanted to remember where I had rode this dumb little bike all over
I would do that
town.
too, for sure.
So it was pretty crazy.
I'd Strava everything. And you kind of did.
I kind of did. Every walk I did, or
What about the recumbent rides on the ship or the cruise?
yeah, I did
Did you do
those
it?
too as well. It was terrible. It
was horrible.
Yes. They didn't have an upright bike.
Oh, man.
In the little, people don't go on those trips to work out, and you're pretty busy all day long. So
What are you busy with?
you're
Eating?
Yeah, eating. Well,
Mostly eating.
there's all these great sights to see in the cities, right?
Oh, okay.
And so
you're
going
out walking
You're
and stuff.
out walking. You come back and you eat, and then you get ready. Then you go to sleep. So yeah, you're pretty much eating.
It's like a veal. They just like lock you down and you cannot exercise. You just eat.
I mean, I did walk a lot every day, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was
So I've got a sneaking suspicion what one of these things is, but what's tugging at you to get back over there, to go do again or see again or experience again?
Oh yeah, getting a glimpse of the Alps
Okay.
in France and in Austria and in Germany and in Switzerland, and not being able to ride any of those like climbs on a real bike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that just
Why didn't you bust out that little foldable bike and go just...
it didn't the timing didn't work.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's exactly what it was.
Can you imagine? Up Alpe d'Huez. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know.
We had to ride it up a hill and in a couple spots, and we ended up having to push it because it was a little single speed that wasn't.
Oh, it was a single speed.
It was a single speed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it didn't have any gears. So
Weren't you like almost spun out like 14 miles an hour or something like that? Yeah.
Yes. It spun out very quickly.
Oh.
So it was.
You're like all
pretty
spun out and Evan just goes jogging by you.
I'm like, okay, this thing is not going to go fast. So
The cyclocross race has to be something that you want to go experience and watch again.
that was an absolute highlight of the whole trip.
Yeah.
To be there for a month, and then to actually catch this World Cup cyclocross race and see how crazy the fans were, see the infrastructure and how they set it up, how the races were set up, how many beer tents they were, how many bathroom sections they were, where you could get food, where, how the city shut down
is it like a
for the
carnival
race.
kind of atmosphere?
Yes, completely. And how they set up the infrastructure so people could walk, and where there were crossings, and there were thousands and thousands of fans there just watching and drinking beer and watching and eating weird hot dogs. And, it was...
See, this is Lance like telling us subliminally he wants to go back and eat hot dogs and drink beer and watch cyclocross, right?
That doesn't sound too bad, actually. What time of year would you go back if you were going to go back again?
Going during the off season was fantastic for a tourist.
Yep.
Not going in the tourist high season.
Yeah.
Where the sites where you would go as a tourist were not busy, and it was still decent weather, and you could still experience all those things. That stuff was very cool. To go back and have decent riding weather, I'd want to go during the summer.
Yep.
If I was going to if I wanted to go spend a week in the French Alps and just do some hill climbs or some riding on all these classic roads, I would want to go in July.
Sure.
And you ride some of the classic roads and you watch the tour, and you kind of experience a little bit of that on both sides. I would really like to do that. It would be way, way busier than what we experienced.
Right.
But
I'm even thinking of like the Greek islands and things like, because that's where you were probably boating around or whatever. I'm just like, that stuff I think is European summer vacation. Month of August, I think, is where it's just, it's quite crowded.
Yeah, we went to Santorini and to the Isle of Crete and the Isle of Rhodes, and those are classic summer
European
vacation destinations, and tiny little towns they're really not roads, they're just alleys between the houses. And during the summer season, they are packed with people. And for us to be there in the off season, we got to just explore them like almost on our own. That was really nice. So that was cool to see. But I want to go back. I would go and be there for a week and just watch a couple cyclocross races, and travel to a couple different ones.
That would be fantastic. I love like sports photography. Obviously, I love riding bikes too, but I love sports photography. I like doing all that stuff, and that is my favorite. I'd love like photo my kids playing sports and soccer and all that other stuff, and some of the like mountain bike stuff. But the most fun I've ever had in the pictures that turn out the best are always the cyclocross ones. There's just so much dynamic stuff that happens there, and there's like you get to move around the course and you can see all different kinds of obstacles and faces, and it's a really fun time. I'd love to do that.
Watching how the pros warmed up, or their systems they had set up, or how they all had RVs and they had rollers outside their RVs that they would actually, warm up on. They had 3 guys, helping them out. I tried to take some videos of this stuff so that, I can share some of those things, but just watch how they all did that. And you walk down a street and there were 50 RVs and they were all individual athletes, base camps for that day's race. And then the whole youth team section. I mean,
nice.
That was
so how is our tent setup going to differ in 2023 for cyclocross?
Right. You brought all of this back to the dialed cycling team?
It would be, they all did it under awnings next to their
rigs.
Their rigs.
Yep.
They all had the awnings on their rigs and all did none of them did warm-ups on the road like I always do.
Yeah.
They all did them on rollers or on trainers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, it's efficient, and it's probably with as many people that are there's probably not very many places you can go ride your bike around.
For these pros too, for them to be like, slap it into erg mode and be like, this is your warm-up designated to you by your coach. You will follow this.
Right.
Versus go out on the road and who knows what you're dealing with. A little bit of traffic and you're trying to get your 2 minutes of tempo. I mean, those guys roll, right? So they're not going to be going slow on the roads anyway. So trainer makes sense.
Yeah.
Trainers work.
So
that's fun.
I did it. I loved it way more than I thought I would. I mean, I was kind of in the back of my mind thinking I should try to find a race to go see, and the fact that we were able to work that out was like just phenomenal. It was a very cool thing to experience.
You think you'll go back next winter, next summer, next?
Yeah, you're already plotting and scheming over there.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't,
the wind. You have to see which way the wind's going.
I just have to see which way is the wind going.
Taking the van, we're going south.
Well, part of the reason I did this trip to begin with was because I had a crap year personally, myself, physically wise, and I knew I wasn't racing well, so I didn't stick it out for the whole cyclocross season.
Right.
I bailed early so I could go over there and just explore during the off season. But if I'm fit, I'm not going to want to.
True.
Squander that,
I'm not going to want to squander
You're going to
that.
want to race, yeah.
Because
that's fair.
I don't know how many fit years I will have left. You can't take them for granted,
Yeah, that's true.
So
how many days are on the countdown timer until you take off for Hawaii?
Oh yeah, we're going to Hawaii.
That's my guess that he's leaving for Hawaii in probably about 5 weeks or 4 weeks.
January or February. Or
we always go January, February.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we're going too.
We
Are you? Yeah, good.
We haven't planned it yet. So I don't have it planned yet.
Oh,
okay.
So it will be in either January or February that I'll go. I usually try to. It depends on when training camp is.
Training camp? Yeah, that'll be March 4th to the 11th.
Yeah.
Ish, somewhere, give or take a day.
Either
on
that
both
week
sides.
or the week before.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out how
I
to
think
make
I'm
that
going to
work.
be like this first full week of February, 6th through the 10th that week.
Which
I'll be there.
island?
Maui, I think.
In Maui.
Yeah, and I think like Evan and David Goodman, there might be a group of people there. Like I don't know, like my family might be in a slightly different location, but you put it on your calendar. Bring your bike.
Maybe we should.
Maybe you should. I don't know which island do you usually go to.
We always go to the Big Island.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Because you're a triathlete.
Yeah.
That's not the island that we're going to be on, right, Matt?
No, I don't think
You'll
so.
be on Maui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know nothing about the Hawaiian
I know.
Islands outside
Me
of that.
either.
There's more than one of them.
This will be the first time I've ever gone with the fam. Like knowing we don't know what we're doing. We're like, oh, there's more than one Hawaii. Come on.
Oh, I know. I like when we were going to Kona, people asked me like, "Oh, what island are you going to?" I was like, "Kona." They're like, "That's a city." I'm like, I don't know what that means. That's just
We just go where we're told. Okay. smile and
exactly.
be happy.
But I am really glad to be back. I mean, it was a long time to be gone.
We're happy to have you back too. Yeah.
But it was a really cool experience. I mean, we had very little. We didn't have really any issues. I thought driving around the van could be potentially difficult. We didn't have any trouble at all, other than we didn't have a shower,
Yeah.
So,
But what's new?
yeah,
Right,
but
that's
you
true.
just kind of figure that out, you
Take a shower on that cruise ship.
That's right. I took plenty in there. So.
Right on. Hey,
Champ here. I'm all about having fun.
Champ Bailey.
Champ Bailey is back.
Did Champ Bailey come back, or did you leave him on a boat?
Champ Bailey is here, and there's hardly anything to talk about.
Yeah, there's a few things going on, but yeah.
So the biggest cyclocross race last weekend, we finally had Tom Pidcock, Matthew Vanderpool, Wout van Aert all race together in the same race. So quite exciting. And guess who won? Vanderpool.
Vanderpool, yeah.
Vanderpool pulled it out. Wout was only about 23 seconds back.
Would
So-
he have beat him if he didn't go flying ass over tea kettle? He misjudged one of those barriers, bunny
missed
hopping.
one? Yep. This was Wout misjudged.
Did I say Vanderpool? No. Okay. Well, I'm talking about Wout. So
Wout misjudged a barrier
Yeah,
and went down.
down, yep.
Well, he was only 23 seconds down. So I don't know. When Vanderpool is like healthy, it's hard
he's
to
hard, yeah.
beat on a cyclocross
But
course.
Wout is a demigod.
He is. So it should be interesting to see. I don't think Wout is planning on doing the World Championships, but I think Vanderpool is.
Oh, really?
I think so. Maybe.
Wants to take a run at it. He's like, I don't like this Pitcock guy wearing the rainbow stripes.
Pidcock was in it, but it's kind of funny. He's kind of with Wout there and with Vanderpool there. Pidcock is kind of an also ran, which is kind of interesting.
He's like the little brother. Like, come on, guys, wait up, guys, come on, come on. I want to be like you.
Well, if it's dry and there's a lot of climbing, it favors him.
Sure.
If it's sandy and muddy, it favors the power guys.
Sure.
Which would be Wout and Vanderpool. So that could be interesting. But Pidcock was in it until I think the last lap. His wheel broke.
Yeah, he had another mechanical. He's what group set is he running? What wheels is he running? Do you know?
He's on a Pinarello frame, something fancy that Ineos built.
Yep.
But I don't know what wheels he's on or what group set. But his wheel broke and ended up like not finishing.
Yeah, I saw a video of him walking just to finish the race. I
Yeah.
think maybe we'll just get back
He
to.
started to run to finish, and then he went, "What the crap am I doing?" And he
Yeah.
just stepped off the course. He just went over the fence. So, but that is all I know. I don't know anything else that happened.
Well, we are kicking off cross champs national championships right now.
Cyclocross National Championships started this week in
Correct.
Hartford, Connecticut. It is Thursday. So the women's elite and men's elite races are on Sunday. I
They're
believe.
both on the same day, or are they going to do Saturday and Sunday?
Something like that.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure, but I know that they're this weekend, and all the age group races are already happening.
Yep.
They started yesterday, Wednesday, and today, Thursday.
Anyone we know there?
We do have a teammate there, Whitney Hayden, who is 11.
Yep.
She's 11, and she is headed out there, or she's probably racing today.
She's, I think so. And I got to go check I haven't looked up the results yet to see who's raced and all that other stuff. So I'm completely blind on that. But she went out there with the number one ranking in the country.
Really?
Yeah. For her age group, she's ranked number one.
Fantastic.
So, I mean,
It's muddy. It's raining out there.
Yeah.
The weather's crap. But she does fine in any condition.
Yeah. And now that doesn't mean anything. Could be much faster kids out there. But if I'm not mistaken, if you're the number one ranked, aren't you like the number one call up too? So you're going to get
you
like
get
a
a
nice
number.
position.
Yeah.
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 So that could bode well. So we'll have to maybe look that up while we're doing the podcast and see if she's raced already. Clara, do you think she's going to three-peat?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Barring any kind of mechanical or anything
Yes.
like that, you think she's going to three-peat it?
I don't think there is another women American racer who, especially if it's muddy, Clara will win it.
What are weather conditions out there?
It's nasty and rainy. It's not frozen, but it's just been
probably
raining.
pretty cold too.
It
so
has been cold. Yeah,
probably right up her alley.
it should be right up her alley. On the men's side, really, Eric Brunner has been kind of winning everything that he wants to win in the U.S. He's been beating the other favorites, Kerry Werner and Curtis White. So I'd love to see one of those guys actually win a national championship. Neither of them have won a national championship yet, but it's kind of Brunner's year. So that should be interesting to see what happens too there.
Cool. Anything else there, Mr. Champ Bailey?
No.
Champ out.
Champ out.
All right, we got a couple things that I want to talk about here. You guys don't know what they are yet. I'm going to throw at you. It's not hot seat. It's just stuff that I want to talk about. I want to know your guys' like hot takes on these things.
Hot takes.
The first thing, and I think Evan's going to probably have something to say about this one as well. Mr. Chris Froome is claiming that he is now seeing strange heart rates and VO max changes in him since having COVID. And my big question is this just like a big excuse for him to exit stage left and like blame it on COVID, use COVID as the scapegoat? Or do you think, I mean, there very well could be some stuff there, but he's kind of been done for a little bit.
He really is hanging on longer than you would expect a champion to hang on.
That's true.
So my question to you guys is, we know that COVID can definitely wreak havoc on an athlete and all that other fun stuff, but should he have already hung it up by now and not use this as an excuse for his paltry showing or his numbers or just going into the 2023 season?
I mean, I think he's probably seeing heart rate and power and physiology changes because he's an aging former champion. So I would say that if he had any major respiratory sickness, he was going to see a small acceleration in that. And I mean, if he's just seeing the result of that now, I mean, he's probably just announcing it to the world that like, hey, I'm not as fit as I used to be before, which everybody already knew, but the poor guy has to realize at some point. And that's, I mean, he's still, you line up Chris Froome in most races and he's still a solid, member of the peloton. But I mean, is he anything more than that now? No. I mean, he's obviously well past his days of being able to sit at the front and make moves and be that guy. But I think that's hard to come to grips with when you're when you're a world champion, when you're a true champion. It's hard to realize that maybe your not human days are done.
I'll play devil's advocate because no one else is going to on this podcast. Here's the thing. I think that, long-term cycling, long-term endurance athletics for runners and all these people, you can see these little heart irregularities and things like that. There's been some articles that have been posted recently. I think Velo News actually did one. I'm trying to remember who else has really kind of explored the topic. There's one famous cycling writer that's written quite a bit about the topic. So I'm wondering if Chris Froome, with a combination of COVID, is starting to see some of these arrhythmias or something like that as far as what's going on with his heart. Maybe there's some sort of...
Or are we just seeing the result of doping long term on the cardiac system? I mean, especially if I actually know the article you're talking about, Matt. I'm pretty sure you're right. It was Velo News. And it's one, I think it's a little clickbaity because this is already a topic that a lot of people have talked about. And Matt, you probably remember this from the running world. Is for a long time, they really believed that elite level marathoning you might have a higher chance of sudden cardiac death. And it's not that you have an increased risk from the general population. There was no data to show that. It was that it made news more often, because if a wildly unhealthy type 2, yes, exactly. So if a wildly unhealthy type 2 diabetic dies of a sudden cardiac issue, that doesn't make news. Right. If a guy who rides up mountains on a bicycle all day all of a sudden keels over dead, yes, that's going to make a news cycle. So, I mean, is there some teeth to that? Absolutely, but I think also it just comes down to, if you've been a top level aerobic athlete for a long time, I mean, at some point the aerobic system's going to start to not respond to the stimulus of training. Well, and that's probably the point that we're seeing with Chris Froome.
So for you, Evan, you're going to be prime suspect for, if I was a doctor, if I was your doctor and I was like, okay, when you're 50 or 60, we're going to start looking for some of these things because you're right.
Yeah.
It's not that it's necessarily going to result in you like keeling over and dying, but you can get some weird arrhythmias and some things that can be fixed with like, not that it's a procedure that's easy, but they do the ablation where they go in and they just, I think they're like,
they like cauterize a section of the heart, the
a
electrical
valve or something, right? Or
so
something with the electrical
Yeah,
piece.
there's an electrical piece. Of the heart,
Yeah, exactly. So,
but I think
it's primarily done with atrial fibrillation, just because that's a poor timing in the electrical signal that goes to the heart. So you can ablate, or you can literally laser those areas that are misfiring.
It's interesting that they're seeing a large amount of those cases in former endurance athletes. And I think that that's where that Velo News article was interesting, in my opinion.
Yes.
I don't think, maybe it is clickbaity, but I think that there's probably some real logic to that. I don't know for sure. But again, like I said, if I was your doctor and Evan was 60 years old, I'd be like, all right, well, if you notice your heart doing weird stuff, let's look at it. It's not because you've been a chain smoker your whole life, right?
Right.
But it's, you have definitely put your heart under stress for a longer period of time than the average, Joe American.
Yes. I'm still of the mindset that that on the grand average, it's our hearts are great at adapting, and you just basically continue to increase your life's quality and longevity as an endurance athlete. But I do agree with you, Matt. I think, but what to play devil's advocate on it, I think sometimes too, and this is what I was actually talking with David Goodman about this, is us as aerobic athletes are much more aware of changes in cardiac function and capacity, because obviously we're at that threshold all the time. So we're very aware of when these things are happening. Your general population is not always aware of when these are going on.
Yeah, for you to be like, oh, my heart rate it should be at 160, and all of a sudden it just jumped to 185. You're like, that would freak you out. Whereas, me, let's say that I'm eating Cheetos and I'm sitting on the couch and my heart rate spikes a little bit, might not notice it, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, and that's and so I think that when you have to look at medical data, you have to also ask the question. We always talk about this in PT is who's reporting. So it's if you're somebody who's going to be noticing a symptom more, does that mean that your type of person is experiencing that symptom more, or is it just, are you reporting it more? And I think that that's what we see with endurance athletes, is we're very hyper aware of cardiac changes. Now, I do agree with you. I think at the very tippy top, is there a chance that if you were somebody who chronically overtrained, didn't respect your recovery, maybe doped, maybe flirted with that edge that we always talk about as elite athletes, could you do damage to your heart? Absolutely. That just makes sense. Like if you're trying to fly that close to the sun for that long, like if you were, let's say that, as terrible as this sounds, let's say that Marco Pantani never died. Right. I would put money on Marco Pantani having issues.
Some sort of heart issue.
Cardiac. Oh yeah. I mean, you're talking amphetamine use along with massive amounts of EPO and training 30, 40 hours a week. Yeah. I mean, you're overusing your cardiac system at that point without respecting its recovery.
Interesting.
Don't know.
So
I don't think any of us know the answer to this is what it comes down
exactly.
to. But
none of us are cardiologists.
Well, and I think it's going to be hard to like tease out that particular data. So
do you think we'll see a full season from him?
Froome?
Yeah.
No.
You think he's done? This is the end.
Nah, I think he'll hang around for another year or two, make some appearance fees, and then he'll be done.
Well, what's his contract? I mean,
he's still getting.
That's a good question.
He's
actually,
still getting paid $5 million a year, and it's for another year.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got one more year, if my memory serves me correct. So
it would be the perfect time for him to finish his contract out, and then
that might be it.
I
mean, he showed up last year.
He showed up. He made the tour team.
And he had a single good day on the tour where he was top 3, if I recall.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah,
yes, he did. That was when he was with Tom Pidcock.
Impressive, really.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like he's got such a high standard that he has set for himself, and he's got such high expectations, and he thinks that everybody thinks that he's still this like the top of the high pile guy. He's just not there, and he keeps making excuses.
He said something recently where he was like, "Oh, well, I know where Garrick was, like Garrick Thomas, he was talking about that. He was talking about G, and he was saying like, I think I still got this. Or like there was some article fairly recently where he was kind of comparing himself.
That's funny.
And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's a good look for him.
How about an open invitation to Chris Froome to come out to the flogging rides,
Chris.
come out and ride with us and
Flogging
show
ride.
us that he's still got it?
Yeah.
He would still
He could
crush
flog
us.
Oh yeah,
us.
this is the thing with those guys is I mean like even like a Fabian Cancellara who has like famously said that he barely rides his bicycle anymore can still jump out there and be like pretty darn competitive in a road race still.
Well, we've seen him run. He's run up the side of Mount Ventoux, right? So maybe you could convince him to come out and do some triathlon with you.
Yeah, he's a triathlete. He is a
He's got a lot.
triathlete.
He's got a lot of work to do on his run first.
I was watching him run with his bike on his shoulder, and I was like, "Oh no, wait!" Then he put his bike down. And he kept running, right?
He
like,
left his bike.
He left his bike.
eventually.
I was like, "Oh, he looks like a pretty good runner." I was just thinking, like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, he could run.
He's got a runner's body.
He could run."
All right, next
That's
question.
about it.
Next question. Here we go. UCI Gravel World Championships. Do you guys know where those are going to be in 2023?
I think it's back in Italy.
Nope. Matt?
Arkansas.
No. Oh, that'd be cool if it was. No.
It's in Europe.
It's in Scotland.
It's in Scotland.
That could be kind of fun. What are you expecting from the 2023 Gravel Championships? Do you think it'll have much more draw this year?
No.
This is round 2?
It needs to be in the U.S.
No?
It needs to be in the U.S. where there's, I'm sure.
Matt is saying
Dude,
exactly
it
what I was
does.
thinking.
It does
yeah.
nothing but rain in Scotland. It is going to be an absolute. It might be flooding during that race.
So the UCI's idea of gravel is a very different event than the way Americans do gravel at the point. And as of right now, there's only one qualifier event in the U.S. to make it to UCI Worlds, and it's some obscure race.
It's very separate right now, isn't it?
You could qualify and go to the World Championships. You know, it's just you'd have to get yourself to Scotland.
Yeah, just go to Scotland. That's your next trip, Lance. There you go.
I think I either read an article or I listened to a podcast about Sarah Sturm because she is one of the gravel queens here in the U.S. that did actually go to Gravel Worlds. It was in Belgium or something. I think it was in Belgium. But and she said the experience was actually not very good.
Oh, that's too bad.
Because it really was more or less pack racing. You know, it was like a road race with gravel
dirt.
sections, you know, on
Gravel
dirt.
sections.
And the US didn't really help them out that much. Like her sponsors got them over there. She had to pay her own way to get there. Actually had to buy their own kits.
What?
They had to pay for their own
this
kits.
is like the triathlon.
Yes.
Price,
USA
you've seen this
Cycling
before
couldn't
too,
kick them a
right?
few kids.
USA Cycling did not
Come
pay
on,
for the
guys.
They were discounted, but they
jeez.
Yeah,
didn't.
this is
But
they
totally.
were discounted.
Yeah,
this is like the
they didn't give-
triathlon
yeah.
thing.
It's-
Have you
it's-
seen
it's
this?
just
Like the
different.
triathlon world,
Yeah.
where they're like, you have
Oh
to
my
buy
God.
the USA stuff, and
yes.
it's, you know.
So, you know, Sturm went and did it because her sponsors kind of asked her to, and she says, yeah, you know, she'll go do it. And, you know, it was like a 150-mile race, which is kind of right down Sarah Sturm's, what she can do really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
If it's a road race.
yeah, if Marianne Vos is there, I mean, forget it, right? And there were all these, you know, Belgian road pros that showed up, and the same thing happened with the men. It was kind of dominated by road racers, even though it wasn't won by a road racer. It was won by a gravel guy, but he was Belgian too.
Yeah.
So
Fair to say that the gravel, it wasn't born here, obviously, but I mean, would you say that this is what really put it on the map as having it explode here in the United States?
The popularity of the races in the U.S. is what made the UCI kind of perk up a little bit.
Take notice.
Yeah,
Take
for sure.
notice. Yeah.
Why the wait? Why didn't you kick things off here in the United States, where it's probably the most popular?
Where's the UCI based?
I don't think they.
It's Europe, but
Yeah, they
don't care.
No, they don't care. You know how much? I mean, the money and systems and things they have all based over there in Europe. They don't really. I mean, it's just America's just another country.
The lure around the world for gravel racing here in the United States of America. I mean, any one of the big 5 races here, I'm sure that every single person over in Europe who rides and races gravel bikes thinks of those as being like, that's my bucket list race. And then the tour, the pros, they all probably think the same thing. And so why wouldn't you want to have it here and really just have it
Good
be
question.
blown up? I mean, And who's going to throw more money at gravel? I mean, these little like Scotland. Scotland's going to be a better resource of like funds and
That's
sponsorship.
The UCI putting it together. You know what's interesting? I mean, the Americans don't really care about, and the American gravel racers don't really care about the UCI gravel scene.
It is off the beaten path of what they deem as like gravel here. I mean,
But if you think of the biggest gravel race in the world, with the most prestige, what do you think of? Unbound.
Yeah.
Which
you think
wants
of Kansas.
nothing to do with the UCI,
Nope.
right? They want
Nothing.
They want to be left alone.
Yes.
As far as they're concerned,
Correct.
I think is what the vibe I'm picking up. So
This part does make a lot of sense, but it would be fantastic to see it come over here, just to see some of those bigger names racing over here. I mean, how often do we get the opportunity to see some of the world's best that are jumping into this gravel thing, ride and race bikes?
Right.
But the UCI wants these races to pay them to be sanctioned or whatever, and follow their rules. Whereas these races want nothing to. It doesn't look like it's going to be an easy. And it may 10 years from now we might be totally different, but it doesn't look like it's going to be an easy mesh of the two organizations at this point.
You know what's kind of funny here is the UCI called their race the UCI Gravel World Championships.
Yeah.
Because Gravel Worlds is a
trademark
name for the race in Nebraska.
Oh, really?
So there's the Gravel Worlds in Nebraska, which they trademarked the name and named
That
it
is hilarious. Racing through cornfields.
And that's a pretty big race too, the Gravel Worlds, even though it's not the World Championships, but they call it the Gravel Worlds, which is hilarious. So
I think the UCI could do themselves a world of good if they adopted more of the mindset of the gravel racers here in the United States, and if they brought the race here.
Yeah, but
I mean, it doesn't have to be all
different.
uptight UCI, sock height limits and all that. I mean, what are some of the bigger things that they're doing? I know that it really kind of comes from the road racing side of things in terms of how they like micromanage and the missteps that they've made with that, and just the vibe that comes along with the roadies. I mean, what are they doing on the gravel side of things that make things so unattractive to the United States?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's a UCI event instead of being a party.
It's just the stigma that's attached to it. There you go.
Yeah. And you go to these big gravel races in the U.S. and they're big rolling parties.
Yeah, so they need to like ditch the rainbow and just come up with like a flannel like jersey for the world champion.
Right.
And
Well, I mean, I think that's a part of what Lifetime Grand Prix, Lifetime Fitness tried to do by establishing this series.
Sure.
And trying to that drew a lot of more people.
Yeah.
A lot more attention to it.
I think that went well. Do you think that they'll continue to run this series indefinitely? I mean, it's a big price point for Lifetime.
I do. I think it's a big deal for them. I think it helped their races quite a bit. I think the scoring system needs to be tweaked a little bit. I think it needs to be more than just 30 women and 30 men. There's some tweaking that I think that
Which
could
is
go
all
into
doable.
it. It's all doable.
But you think this in 10 years we're still going to have this Lifetime series?
Well, who knows? I mean, we used to
Economy's looking rough,
right? Well, I mean, we've had all these big bike racing series that have all just gone away after 5 or 6 or 10 years. Tour of Utah, we don't have anymore. Tour of California, we don't have anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
We used to have a whole, whiskey off-road series in mountain biking, and now there's only like 2 of the 6 races left. It's all changed. We used to have a lot of more single-track events in mountain biking in the U.S., and we don't have as many of those anymore because the promoters can make more money putting on a gravel race.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with it.
Okay, last question. Everyone here on this podcast, ride bikes with SRAM group sets on them.
Yep.
There have been some spottings in the wild of some new group sets from SRAM, some new offerings.
This is good news because I haven't been paying attention. So
Yeah,
I'm very excited
and
to hear about this.
You've had bad luck with yours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, your front derailleur, it just doesn't want to play nice. But from the mindset of it's coming, it's imminent, it's out there. There's pictures in the wild of guys actually racing on cross bikes, and they're like, "Is this the new red group set?" what do you guys want to see? And I've got a sneaky suspicion what Matt's going to say here, but what do you want to see from the new SRAM group sets coming out? What's going to make them better than the current iteration that's out there right now? And we'll just, I mean, we can talk about, all of them, or maybe just the Red and the Force, which are your two top tier, which would be, synonymous for those that don't know with like a Dura-Ace and a Ultegra. We'll talk about the Red and the Force. What do you guys want to see?
Wireless.
Okay.
Yep.
Replaceable batteries.
Oh, I'm talking about SRAM. It already has that.
That's why I like SRAM.
Okay, but what do you want to see? What are you hoping to see in
1x15?
1x15?
I could see them going 13.
Yeah.
I think that
you start to have
God, please don't go 13.
You start to have
Just
chain.
come on.
You have
come
chain.
on.
You have to have special chains. Eventually.
Yeah, thinner chains.
Yeah.
Their chains are great.
But
that's one of the big selling points because they last for so long.
One of the reasons, and when you add, basically extra metal to the top there, you can go thinner, and so there's increased durability too as well. But like when you add that metal to the top, you can go thinner because you need some metal to basically not make it fall apart, right? So it's just a matter of like moving that metal to the top, which they've already done. So I think they could go 13 fairly. I say this like it's an engineering like walk in the park. You can do it easily,
right? But 12 is working great at the moment.
12's fine, yeah.
We still got to get you on 12.
I'm not even on 12 yet.
You're just holding out for 13 though, right?
No,
That's
might as well. I like the idea of like 1x13.
Yep. Evan's been riding 1x12 on his TT bike.
Yep.
Evan, are you still in
TT
love with
bike? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still in love with the 1x system?
No, yeah. No, I love it. I mean, the only issues I've ever had was a faulty battery once, and I mean, really, that's about it. Outside of that, I think the 1x is great for time trialing. Now, I will say I'm in the middle of reading the book called The Secret Cyclist. And the guy, whoever wrote that book, which is the funny thing about the book is we don't know who wrote it. His team was on 1x, and he hated it.
So from the 3T bike team.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, you got it. Yep.
So,
exactly.
Price,
and it was just.
Is the Secret Cyclist the guy that he used to post to some website all the time? I can't remember which website it is, but he used to write like an article all the time. It was like the Secret Pro. Do you guys remember this?
I do. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it the same guy?
No.
It's not. It's different.
No,
it's totally
I
different.
don't. I don't think that's the same guy. This guy is, I think, currently still in the pro peloton. He's a big time veteran.
Right.
So,
okay.
but he drops hints throughout the book. So my dad's been joking that if you really, I'm sure people have done this. If you really wanted to go through the races he's talked about and ballpark his age, you could probably nail it down to within like 5 people of who this guy is. But yes, he talks about that 4T. I think it was like the Blue Aqua team or something like that from like 2018. That team ended up folding, but they had a night. So I think that, I also have SRAM on my SLR, and I haven't had too many problems, but there's something off, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm just a one-off. There does seem to be I want them to just make the front derailleur shift a little smoother.
Right.
I think that's a little clunky shift, and it also, I will admit, and I've messed around with it quite a bit, but if you get into certain cogs, the shift over is a little sketchy, and the shift back is sketchy. So I think that maybe that's where the whole, like, quote unquote, if you guys have seen the hashtag that goes around, was it like "damn it SRAM" or something like that,
right?
Where it's just. And I think that's usually from the front derailleur issues. So if they just fix the front derailleur issues and keep a nice smooth 1x12 system, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like I think it's great otherwise.
Unfortunately, the only people I know who have had those issues with the shifting with the SRAM are people that are running the SRAM Force. The people that are running the Red group set
have been fine.
That's what I have is the Force.
The Force
on the SLR. So then they just need to improve their mid group set. I think is probably what most people would want. I mean, we all like the big shiny, but like if 80% of your market's buying the Force, they need to improve that before trying to do the biggest next best thing.
I could see them doing that too. They'll go through a whole bunch of specs and numbers about how it's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit faster shifting, which I think actually could be improved quite a bit. I think those are the things. Those are like the fundamentals of like providing a good component set. They could do that, and that would probably be enough to get them through another iteration of that particular device without going to like 13 by or whatever. However,
because
it's not going to really.
SRAM looks cool. Like
Yeah.
like SRAM is the cooler brand in my opinion. All they need to do is they just need to make themselves cleaner like Di2. I mean, Di2 is bulletproof, so you just need they just need to bridge that gap, I think.
No,
I wouldn't say it's bulletproof.
I wouldn't either.
I think that to get to
At
get
least in the
headlines.
triathlon world, that is Di2 is considered absolute butter at the top end of the pro.
We've
of,
already
of the pro
established
field
that
in
triathletes are
triathlon.
idiots.
No, I'm with Evan on this one. I think that
says the
Di2
guy
is,
who just rode a foldable bike through Europe.
Yes, I did.
I'm with Evan. I think the Di2 stuff is much more reliable. That's my take on it.
Yeah,
I agree.
the current 12
I
speed
think-
stuff, the jury's still out though.
The 12 speed
Yeah,
stuff.
That
there's some issues there.
maybe.
So there's been some issues and whatnot. And they're still trying to get things worked out, and it's really not wireless still.
It's
Right.
not wireless yet.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. None of the stuff is backwards compatible with the old stuff. All the E-tube is different. There's still a lot of wires in there. The battery's difficult to change out. You don't have
True.
the ability to, you know, flip flop your batteries to get yourself into a chain ring and get yourself home so that you're not spinning at 120 RPM.
But it does it automatically for you. It assumes like, you're low enough on battery. You're like, okay, you're just going down to rear shifting, right? So that's how they've done it in the past.
Well, it'll
quite a
shift
while
down
ago.
to the small ring, but it won't go back
Right.
up to the big one.
Yep.
So when you're
just
trying to get
stuck.
home and you're like 50 miles out, you shouldn't be that far out anyway, but however far out you are, it's happened to me a couple times where
You've got-
you're at a
you got rear
ridiculous
shifting,
cadence
yeah.
and you've got your chain flopping all over the
Crossed
place.
over,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's just not a happy thing. It's much easier with the SRAM stuff, and it's super nice to be able to just keep a small, tiny little battery in your little
True.
pack and like, oh, battery dart, flip flop it out, we're good to go. Change it out, we're back and riding.
Yeah, there's lots to like about both systems. I just don't know if they'll jump all the way to 13 by this round. I think if they do, they'll get the headlines that they want. Like that's the publicity piece where it's like if they just make it faster, make it lighter, it'll get an article in the cycling news stuff, but it's not going to really make waves.
It's going to take a step in that direction, I think, because
What are the rumors?
they're just showing shifters. They're not showing like cog counts and all that other fun stuff. I have a sneaking suspicion it's not going to be 12. It's just going to stay 12 for
stay
now.
12.
I still think it's going to be there. But how big of a middle finger would that be to Shimano, who just finally got their 12-speed stuff to market this past summer?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're in 12-speed? That's so passe. We're going 13, buddy. And it's going to take Shimano another 4 or 5 years to figure that out. And that's what I do like about SRAM is they're always pushing. They're always like tinkering and they're always coming out with new stuff to try. And like you're not stuck with the same thing for, half a decade because, they're just slow to innovate. And that's what I like about them. They innovate, they push. And the rival stuff that they're coming out with, the Access Rival, that stuff is solid. It's obviously a little heavier, but I mean, you can get a front rival chain ring with the power meter built into it for under $300.
Yeah.
It's funny how bipartisan people can be about Shimano or SRAM.
Yeah.
You're either a
absolutely.
Shimano lover or a SRAM lover. You can't, you're either Republican or you're Democrat.
Yeah, red or blue or your Coke or your Pepsi or
Right.
That's true.
I don't know. I mean, I like both of them. I think they're both fantastic.
I think they're both fine. Yeah, I
splitting
just
hairs.
think that well, and this is also, I think a lot of what I hear at least is coming from a very specific world. So you got to think of the world that you come from. If you're a mountain biker, you're going to hear specific
Right.
things.
That's true.
For me, almost everybody I race, a lot of us we're all on one buy system. So, we all love SRAM, but I mean, Di2 is wonderful too. So I think that it just depends on the world you're in. I mean, it's the same thing with, the 4T had a great idea. It's just doesn't work well in the pro peloton. Probably not, because
Right.
you got to have a very smooth, fast, shifting and have great gear ranges. And that's just, I think that's you would hope that just with both the new, anything that either company comes out with, they just make a really good product at the basics.
Gotcha.
I mean, and that's personally just coming from me, but I think most even like elite racers would agree that you just want the basics to be right. Like I don't need it to be, like the bells and whistles do not always matter. And
Sure.
13 is not that different than 12 for most of us.
Gotcha. Yep. So going back to the fact that we all ride on SRAM, think about your particular group set or your bike that you ride the most, or your bikes, and what is it that you want that bike to do that it's not doing currently, or that it could do better? I mean,
Shift.
front derailleur shift and not drop the damn chain, right, Matt?
Go faster.
Yeah. SRAM, if you're listening, give Matt Legrand, he's got a little YouTube channel. Give him a shout. Let him know that you got his back.
Yeah.
He needs a red front derailleur.
I need something. Something's off there. Probably the front chain ring or something needs to be red.
Yeah, possibly.
Something. Who knows? Well, who knows? No one knows. We'll try to figure it out. But what would you want differently?
Yeah.
I think that their shifting could be faster and more precise. I think that's the basics that they'll tout.
Yeah.
And not switching to 13. That's my guess. Like they'll be like, it's 20% faster and 20% lighter, and that's why you should buy it. And that will be the headline. I'm just throwing out things here, but
if you were to ask me the question, I would go straight to it should be a little bit faster, or it could be a little bit faster. Give you the option to have it be a little bit more of a I'm not going to say precision, because I think that because I ride on the red and I think it's very precise and I think it's very fast. I just think it could be faster. Like I want to hit the button and I just want it to be like more instantaneous. I don't want there to be any lag, or I want the derailleur itself to do what it needs to do even faster.
Do you feel like the Di2 is faster than the SRAM?
Ooh, it's probably been...
Oh, it's been a while.
It's been a few minutes.
I'm sure someone knows the answer to
maybe
this. Like
some people. I've had some
whatever.
people tell me that it is a touch faster. You are kind of splitting hairs. I think both of them could be faster, but I don't know. I'd be guessing if I told you the one was faster than the other.
Yeah.
I think that they both could be a little bit faster. I just want it to be like more instantaneous, because when you're working with a mechanical shifter and you push a lever, the instant you pull on that cable to actuate the derailleur, it just fires. It just bangs really quickly. So that would be nice, just to hit like a jump, or even to jump 3 or 4 cogs to have that be faster would be fantastic, especially for like mountain bike racing or riding, because that's probably where you need to have it do that's where you need to go faster. You just do, because you're getting yourself into different situations where you need to be in a certain gear set. So what about you, Lance?
I can't think of something I want different on it.
Then you just default to more gears, right?
Yes.
Don't you? I mean, I think
just
that's
default
fair.
to more gears.
Yeah.
Self-cleaning drivetrain.
Self-cleaning drivetrain.
Self-cleaning drivetrain.
Someone made something where, so someone made this product, and I'm sure this is like some small company or whatever. It literally like drips chain lubricant onto your chain as you're racing. And they ran all the numbers and how it was like worth it to have, more efficient chain or whatever it is. But it's like literally lubing your chain as you are riding out there.
That's funny.
That would be...
We need it. SRAM, we need that.
That'd be interesting for like gravel.
Permanent lube on chains that don't need to be lubed. That's what I want.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That's
Dry
right.
chains.
I just want zero friction. That's it. I just want zero,
that's all I want.
and I want you to break physics, SRAM. That's it. I mean, come on. We're not asking that much. Keep it simple, SRAM. Just zero friction. That's all I want.
All right. Well, let's hope that new iteration is pretty spectacular. We'll see if it's worth it.
You think we're going to see stuff like next summer, or you would?
If I had to bet, and based on how they've done it in the past, we'll probably see it in the spring. We'll see the red stuff in the spring. We'll probably see the force stuff later in the year. But they're due. I mean, they're coming up on 3.5 or 4 years now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that
so
sounds right to me.
The timing is right, and gosh, they've done such a great job of capturing market share during the whole pandemic. I can't even begin to tell you how many people have gone from Shimano to SRAM because of the lack of availability of parts and group sets and whatnot. And I'm sure there'll be a fair amount of people that made the jump over to SRAM that'll go back over to Shimano. But I'm guessing too that there's going to be a lot of people that jumped over from SRAM or from Shimano that are going to stick with SRAM. And if they're going to push the envelope a little bit more, and they're going to come out with a new group set that's even better or more refined, that's fantastic. If it just so happens to be 13 speed, might kind of suck if you've got XDR drivers or XD drivers and all your stuff, and you've all of a sudden you got to look at different wheels and different drivers and different group sets. I mean, that kind of is a bummer. I don't know if I'm going to jump right away, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think it comes down for a lot of these people, and this is not us, but I think a lot of people that are buying bikes get what comes with the bike. So again, it's going to come down to partnerships with whatever SRAM partnerships they have with Specialized or Trek bikes or any of these manufacturers for bikes. It's like, well, a lot of people aren't buying frames and then deciding components. That's like, who has the better partnerships,
right?
And that's probably Shimano, but they're just they're the 90% marketplace, right? That's like for road bikes. That's probably what it used to be. It's probably different now.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you guys want to say about SRAM?
I love you.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Very cool. All right, let's jump into one last thing. Matt LeGrand always goes first.
Okay.
This is gonna be no exception.
Sure. I have some videos coming out. I am working on Christmas gift ideas. So if you guys have ideas for cyclists, send them my way. I'll put them in a video. I usually do this where I'll do, 3 videos in 3 days, and it's like swim gifts, bike gifts, and running gifts. So, and I think I'm going to do something different. I think this year I'm going to do 10 swimming gifts, 10 bike gifts, 10 running. So a lot more
it's a lot.
things to throw out. But I'm working on that video. I really want to have it out soon because we're getting close to Christmas, and it'll be
shopping time
here before you know it. And then
what about like the 12 days of triathlon gifts, Matt? And it's just birds.
So good.
Just a lot of birds.
A lot of birds. All birds.
So many birds.
Put a bird on it. The most recent video that I posted was maybe the tail light thing that Evan was talking about.
It's freaking lasers.
It's cool. They actually sent me an updated whatever product for this tail light that they have. It goes underneath your seat. It's got a nice light to it. Little button on the wireless remote. You can do a left turn signal, right turn signal. Flip on the lasers, and you get a laser guideline for like your bike lane kind of thing.
Like
so
to keep,
cars could see.
Cars.
Yeah, it's like 3 feet on either side or whatever. Super cool. It's $36.
Oh wow,
pretty cheap. The lasers really only.
We're kind of doing. It's got freaking lasers! Freaking lasers.
Sorry.
No. Yeah, I was gonna say the lasers really only work during like pretty dark conditions.
Okay.
So it's not perfect, but it's a product. I made a video about it.
I like it.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for entertaining us, Matt. We appreciate that.
You are welcome.
Evan Price. One last thing.
Fingers crossed on a negative test here in about an hour. That's about it.
Ooh.
You might as well just wait a couple days, man.
Yeah, milk it, dude. Milk it. Just, hey,
Take your
Cassie,
time.
I just don't feel really well. Can you bring me a beer? I need some chips and salsa over here on the couch.
Yes, exactly.
No. Yeah, you don't do sitting down well or sitting still well.
I badly need to get back to the clinic tomorrow, so really hoping that this is negative test.
Yeah. See, Mother Nature, though, even she wants you to take an off season.
Is it going to snow tomorrow?
I don't know. I think on Sunday it's supposed to, but we'll
Really?
see.
Oh, Sundays. Dang it. It's getting chilly.
Yeah.
I'm
Lance
at
Epler.
swim meets all day, every day from now until the foreseeable future.
All right, I have spent some time looking for Whitney Hayden's results and cannot find them. So I don't know if she's raced just yet. I did find, though, that a couple hours ago, local women's racer Jenna Lingwood won the 40 to 44-year-old women's age group at Cyclocross Nationals.
That's so cool.
So good
Dang.
for Jenna.
Sweet.
Yes.
Good job, Jenna.
Congratulations.
That's my
Anything
one
else?
thing.
You can stick around for a little bit?
I am in town for the foreseeable future.
Good.
I can only see 2 weeks into the future, though.
Are your kids coming back for holiday stuff?
I think my daughter Kelty is coming home for Christmas. I don't think Lake is.
Okay.
He's got a job
Lake,
at a
what the
ski
heck?
resort. He's got a ski resort job. For
That's fair.
Yeah, so I don't
fair.
think he's coming back.
Chasing around
You
all
know
ski
what?
bunnies.
He's really doing good at this whole, like, he's a lake guide and then a river guide and then is this
then
going to
the
be
ski
his
patroller.
future?
Yeah.
This is pretty freaking awesome. I mean,
It is.
he's doing it pretty
No,
awesome.
it sounds freaking awesome. It is not. it just sounds good.
In theory.
It's not. That was the devil coming back to catch you.
My one last thing is we do have the ugly Christmas sweater ride this weekend.
Ooh.
We were supposed to do it last weekend, and by the time that we had to make a decision, at that point in time, it was supposed to snow. And then it was supposed to maybe not snow, but it was going to be in like the mid 30s with like high wind advisories and rain.
Oh, yeah,
like it was going to be
windy.
nasty. And then it just ended up being perfectly sunny. But at the start of the ride, the real field temperature was 19 degrees outside.
Oh, it was cold.
It was cold, and it did get a little windy out. Or what? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't. I was going to say breezy, but it was actually windy. So it was not good riding weather, if you will. It was just super cold.
Saturday
So-
looks rainy.
It does, but it's in the low to mid 40s, if I'm not mistaken, and that's much more doable.
Yes.
But I could be wrong. But it's one of those rides, if you just put the appropriate base layer on and like rain protection jacket, whatnot on, and then throw an ugly sweater over it, you're fine.
You're good.
Yeah, you might have a little sloppy, wet thing, but that's why we're going to stop for coffee to warm up, and you can have coffee or hot chocolate, whatever floats your boat.
I like it.
Be a little sub 20-mile ride, and we'll go out there and kick off the Bikes for Kids campaign, which is kind of cool. So we barely have started on that, and the goal is to do $10,000. That's always the goal every single year, and we usually do somewhere in the range of like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. We haven't even really officially started, because the official start's the Ugly Christmas Sweater Ride. We're already over $3,000.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome? It doesn't show on the GoFundMe because these are checks that have been coming in. So I'm really stoked on the fact that we're just getting started and we've already raised a ton of money.
All right.
Must be a lot of kids getting some sweet bikes.
Love it.
So anything else, boys? All good?
That's good.
Welcome home, Lance.
Welcome home.
Evan, hope you feel better.
Yes, sir. Good seeing you home, Lance. Hopefully ride with you guys soon.
Matt, good luck getting all those videos out.
Oh, thanks.
We will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.